I'm feeling awful. To say that that was a really bad night of sleep is to imply that it was a night of sleep, and it wasn't. It was not a night of sleep. Never again. We're in Binba, visiting Jialin's parents, and we're about to go for Chinese food. We went to a restaurant that can only be described as Sichuan Cai. And here they just serve you a ton of different courses and dishes. They stack them on top of each other on the Lazy Susan. That's the only way you can fit this many on a table. And most of them are delicious. It's a numbers game, so you have to like at least some of these dishes, surely. You feel a bit guilty if you sort of hog the ones that you do like to yourself, but that's just the nature of this type of food, I suppose. What a mess. We just spent 3 hours driving up the side of a mountain, and look, such a big contrast from the city. There's so much clean air. You can there's still a lot of Chinese shouting, filling the air though. You can hear the birds singing. You know, mosquitoes can actually survive here. That's a bad thing. The air is so clean. The bugs can live. But it's good to get out of the city. Good to get out of the house. Jialin, her parents, and myself did in fact manage to reach the top of a mountain. While driving got us most of the way, we still had a fair share of walking to do. For security purposes, we brought this knife along. You know, in case any tigers or rabid pandas attacked us. Thankfully though, we didn't actually have to use it. The environment was beautiful enough, and it was a good workout too. If only the mountains weren't so far away. Wow. Later on, we saw this place. They call it a sea of flowers, and it's not hard to see why. It's quite crowded here, making this the only place in town where people bothered to wear masks. I'm glad they did. This place has it all, you know. Loads of flowers, a steamy stone crossing, an internet celebrity punching sign. I don't know what that means. They even had an inflatable pool for fishing. They're just catching fish with their bare hands. To tell the truth, I wasn't having a great time here. It was really hot and muggy and there was barely any shade. I just wanted to go home. And to go home, we eventually did. Unlike last time we went back to Chengdu, this time we didn't have to go through all of these temperature checks and passport checks. That's all gone, thankfully. Sadly, the train station itself does insist on additional security measures, especially if you're a foreigner like me. Not only was I able to make it back to Chengdu, I was able to get the app working. The one that lets you into restaurants and things. I can go anywhere I want now. Despite that, I've been staying indoors, going nowhere, and the few places I have been to don't insist on seeing the app. So I'm not entirely sure why I bothered.
Only I had some place to be.
But one place I did go to was a wedding. Jialin and I were invited to one of her friends' weddings, a mere day before it even took place, presumably because somebody else cancelled and they needed to fill seats. But it was exciting for us because it was an opportunity to see our old flatmates, David and Sherry.
Hello! Hello, Darway. Hello, Sherry. Why do the Chinese make weddings so big and special?
Because they thought that's the most important ceremony in their life.
Do you think the Chinese take weddings more seriously than the Westerners?
I think everyone takes the wedding as very important.
What do you think is the most important thing at a wedding?
Most important thing
Yeah, like at a wedding ceremony, what is the thing that has to be done perfectly?
to make
The
a
most-
promise.
Oh, okay. And Sherry?
Yeah, I think so.
See, I would have thought you'd say the food. Because if the food is bad, everybody is unhappy.
Okay.
What do you think is the most important thing at a wedding?
Most important?
Yeah.
So again, I don't understand.
What is the best thing about a wedding?
That's the thing.
Yeah.
Can I speak Chinese?
Okay.
Be careful.
Fine, speak Chinese, quick.
No.
David, this is the worst interview ever. Say something.
No.
Oh, David.
每个夜晚，在我座驾里，不知道飞驰了多少公里。
The ceremony itself is pretty typical. There's walking up and down the aisle, there's exchanging vows, giving rings. One thing unique to Chinese weddings is the tea-making ceremony. The bride and groom are expected to serve tea to each other's parents, to signify that they share parents now. Chinese weddings tend to be very extravagant, more so than Western weddings in my experience. This comes down to basic logistics. China has a ton of people, that's no secret. With all of those people, there's no shortage of wedding guests. And with Chinese weddings, everyone is expected to bring lucky money, red packets. How much money guests are expected to give is a complex answer that I don't understand. However, what you end up with is a crowd-funded event. People are paying money up front and they're expecting a dozen dishes at their table. In my experience, the food really is the focus of these weddings. And with everybody paying, you can actually plan a wedding so that it will make you money rather than cost you money. That's what Jialin and I are planning for, at least. And lastly, you can't have a Chinese wedding without baijiu. Who doesn't love getting smashed at lunchtime?
Jialin, what's your favourite part of a Chinese wedding? I knew it. Sherry, how many Chinese weddings have you been to?
Maybe 10
Maybe 10.
15
10 or 15, okay.
or 20.
What? How many friends do you have?
I have many friends and I come to many weddings.
I see. David, what is the best wedding you've ever been to?
Myself.
Your own wedding? Chinese lady, you are married now. How do you feel?
他想采访你，他想采访你结婚之后的感受怎么样？没有感受。
还好，但是空的。
旺哥，你要好好对我们思思啊。
Wasn't that a lovely wedding? Must be nice to get married. I wouldn't know because I had a wedding planned for 3rd of May, but it was cancelled because of the event. So, you know, whatever. My family had booked flights into China, but never mind. You know, we've postponed until October, so as long as nothing else happens between now and then, we should be able to just carry on like normal. So you know what? Here's to nothing else happening between now and then.